Chapter 16. The ride with the eagles went on for hours. As day drawled on, the sun started growing lower in the sky. The colors changed from bright blue to a deep violet, and I felt myself feeling a bit homesick. Back in the Shire, Bilbo and I used to climb to the tip of the highest hill and watch the sun as disappeared beyond the tips of the trees in the distance. I felt my eyelids start to get heavy as I stared at the horizon, but forced myself to stay awake. I did a head count, listing off all the dwarves I could see to try and pass the time. I started listing certain aspects about them to keep myself awake. Keely and Philly were brothers. Philly was blonde, the oldest, and had an interest in romance novels. Keely was the youngest. He had darker hair, no beard, and was just a tad vain. My blinks got longer. Balin had white hair. Another long blink. He knew Thorin before Smaug. My eyes closed. A small rest wouldn't hurt anyone. The eagle squawked at me to let me know we had arrived at our destination, and I jumped awake. I carefully slid off its back and put my hand on its beak to thank it. Its eyes closed, and for a moment we shared a connection. It was nice to know that not every animal in Middle-earth wanted to kill us. It flew off, as did the others, and I watched them for a moment, almost forgetting about the unconscious dwarf. Gandalf, however, had not forgotten and rushed over to his aid. He knelt down beside him and put his hands on shoulders, trying to shake him awake. "Thorin? Thorin," he called out, inspecting the dwarf. No response came from the dwarf, and I held my breath, fearing the worst. I pushed myself through the group until I was standing directly behind Gandalf. He was now leaning over Thorin's body, and he placed his hand over Thorin's face. The wizard whispered something in a language I did not understand, and Thorin's eyes shot open. He gasped for breath, and the company cheered, trying to push me aside. I held my ground, my eyes not leaving the leader of our company. "The halflings?" Thorin asked Gandalf with fear lingering in his voice. He was sitting up now and pushing against Gandalf's hand that was trying to keep him steady. "They're all right, Thorin. Bilbo and Yn are here, and they are quite safe," Gandalf said with a soft smile. Thorin stood up with the help of his kin, and the group backed away from Bilbo and I. I couldn't remember when Bilbo appeared at my side, but I held tightly onto his hand to show him we were in this together, no matter what Thorin said. To my surprise, the dwarf's eyes were filled with anger, not admiration, and my stomach dropped. "You! What were you doing?" He turned to Bilbo, stepping forwards as Bilbo took a step back. "You nearly got yourself killed. Did I not say you were going to be a burden? That you would not survive in the wild and you had no place among us?" He stood directly in front of Bilbo, towering over him. Very quickly the anger in his face was replaced with gratitude. "Never have I been so wrong. In all my life." He sighed, pulling Bilbo into a hug. Bilbo stood frozen, unsure what to do before giving the dwarf a small pat on the back. Once he let go, he turned to me. "And you," he said softly, smiling as he stepped towards me. "You could have died trying to save me, and I don't deserve that." "You deserve all that and much more," I told him, staring directly into his eyes. His eyes glossed over. "Don't do that again or I might lose you. Don't be an idiot and run towards an orc with a sword, a branch, and no backup, and I won't have to." He pulled me into a hug, holding me as close as possible. I wrapped my arms around his neck and smiled. This felt right. Who cared what the others thought? "They are all staring," I whispered in his ear. I felt him smile against my neck. "Good." I hugged him tighter, letting the tears of relief finally fall. He had buried his face in my neck and put one hand in my hair and one on my back. After a few moments, he pulled away and looked between Bilbo and I. He kept one hand on my shoulder and placed the other on Bilbo's. "I was wrong to ever doubt you two. I am truly sorry." "No. I would have doubted us too. We aren't heroes or warriors, let alone burglars. Bilbo responded, looking at me for approval. Please, I never doubted myself. That was all you, I said confidently, gesturing to the dwarf. Thorin smiled awkwardly and Gandalf let out a laugh. I finally looked out at the company who responded to my gaze with warm smiles. So this is a thing now? Buffer asked, pointing between Thorin and I. The dwarf took my hand and pulled me closer to him. If the company has no objections, I would like to officially state that Yen is taken. Not that I was ever something to take, cause I'm not an object, but yes. This is a thing. I smiled at Buffer who winked at me. Finally shedding any nerves he once previously held, the dwarf lord spun me around and looked me in the eyes. He cupped my cheeks and leaned down to kiss me. I closed my eyes, expecting to feel his lips on my own when he froze. I opened my eyes only to see he was gazing off into the distance behind me. Whatever it was must have been good cause it cost me my kiss. I turned round to see what he was looking at. Is that I started? The Lonely Mountain. Error. The last of the great dwarf kingdoms of Middle-earth. Gandalf finished for me. Our home. Thorin whispered, tears coming to his eyes. He looked back down at me with a smile and wrapped his arms around my waist. I leaned my head back and he placed a small kiss atop it. That would be good enough for now. A bird called and we all looked up. A raven. Gloin said, the birds are returning to the mountain. That, my dear Gloin, is a thrush. Gandalf told him. Well, we'll take it as a sign. Thorin said happily, a good omen. You're right. I do believe the worst is behind us. Bilbo said, looking at me with a smile. I nodded in agreement. Only smooth sailing ahead from here on out. I was sure of it.
I'm glad you enjoyed that video / gameplay. Just remember to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below. Until next time, goodbye!